Hi, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Laura. Hi, hello, welcome. We are at the very tail end of catch-up week. So excited for that. It's been a while since I've done one of these, but I've done what I call the YouTube switcheroo, which is filming different videos on the same day, so same look, just different shirt. We switched our shirts out. But I don't have time to dilly-dally. We have a lot of things we need to talk about, and the starting points are usually my recaps, and it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of talking. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? So instead of me going on and on for about 10 minutes just recapping all of the months, they're all going to be just like kind of all the information is going to go on the screen right now. I'm just going to give it a second. But I track everything incredibly thoroughly. If something was decluttered, the numbers get reflected on the month that it reflects on. Then same thing with if I get a palette in or if I get singles in, that is all reflected on the months appropriately. So that's why my numbers for total eyeshadows is fluctuating. The number of shades used fluctuates. It's all because my palettes and singles, the ebbs and flows. We get things in, we move things out. I do count any grouping of palettes and singles and shades. I include my groupings in palettes because they will count in my percentages and everything like that. Just so you guys kind of know where everything is, how I kind of organize this and just have that information. But I do kind of want to just verbally go over last month's information just because I think there's a lot to talk about in that regard. So in May, I had decluttered a couple palettes, I had already gotten my singles in from Pretties for Your Face at that point. So I ended up decluttering a couple palettes and maybe a couple singles out of my storage palette, bringing my total number of eyeshadows down. And then the total number of palettes went down since I decluttered 2 palettes. So by now, you should have seen my collective haul for the cumulative months of, I think, April, May, and June. I think it was only those 3 months. It could have been 4 months. I don't know. I have the footage. I haven't edited it yet. But in that haul, I made a very large Ulta points haul, and then I ended up splurging and just getting another Ulta points haul and just splurging my points on another thing. And I ended up getting this guy here. This is the Natasha Denona My Dream palette, and I'm actually, one of the shades I'm wearing is what's on the lid today. That guy there. So pretty. Super, super pretty. Yeah, so I ended up, my number of palettes increased by 4. The total number of palettes, the shades, increased by 60. So I brought in 4 Natasha Denona palettes, 4 of the midi size, the middle ones. So 60 shades have entered my collection. I would say I need to slow my roll, but I know me. You guys know me at this point. June numbers. Let me scooch over so you'll see the information on the screen. In June, I ended up bringing in another 60 pans of eyeshadow into my collection for a total of 669 total shades in my collection. I also brought my number of palettes up. As I mentioned, 4 palettes came in. I have 45 palettes in my collection now. I ended up only using 69 different shades within the month of June. Not my worst month. My worst month was definitely May, but not my best month by far. It's the second worst month of so far. So I'm wearing a lot more of the same kinds of eyeshadow, the same shades over and over again. Part of it is because I'm trying to hit pan in some things. Part of it is I'm trying to finish some things. Part of it is just I was stuck in a rut and I've been getting myself out. And this look here is me getting out of the rut that I was in. It's bright. It's colorful. It makes me think of a parrot, In total for 2023, so the past 6 months, I have ended up touching 412 shades within my collection, We're still over 50%, even with bringing that giant amount of pans into my collection. I'm actually over 60% in my no pans left behind, which is super exciting. Very happy about that. I ended up finishing No Pan Left Behind on 3 different palettes, so that's exciting. The palette names will be listed over there. And that brings my total palettes with No Pan Left Behind to 22. That's almost 50% of my palettes have been completely No Pan Left Behind. I'm very excited about that. I'm very, very excited about that. So something to note though that I'm pretty proud of is out of the 45 total palettes in my collection, there's only 4 palettes that I have not touched in some capacity yet. Now, 2 of those are brand new palettes. So that makes me really excited that in the grand scope of things, only 2 palettes have gone, like 2 older palettes have gone untouched this year. Only other thing I really wanted to mention was the percent of my shades used. I've been fluctuating right at the 60% for the past couple months with like things touching so many things, decluttering things and lowering the number to bringing a bunch of things in and raising the number. I'm pretty happy that the past 3 months I've stuck within the same plus or minus 2%. We've been over 60% for 3 months now. Really haven't been impressive with the 60%, but there is still like a lot. I've still touched a lot of my collection. So let's just go over like the goals and kind of what I've grabbed out to use for the next couple weeks before hopefully I'll be able to touch all the shades that I want to out of these palettes. Hopefully no pan left behind, but sometimes, you use a palette for a couple weeks. At least this is the case for me. I'll use the palette for a couple weeks, then I'll be like, I'm not inspired by the shades that are left, and then I'll need to put it back. So even if I get a good solid use on a lot of the shades in the palettes that I have in front of me, I'll feel really accomplished with things. So first thing is going to be this guy here. I have not even used this palette once this year. This is the Natasha Denona. Technically, this is the Peak palette. This is not the Peak palette, if that makes sense. None of these shades are like originally from the Peak palette to my memory, if my memory serves me correctly. Maybe 1 or 2 of these is, but these are kind of duplicate shades that I had in a couple palettes that Haley had sent me, and I popped the ones that I didn't have, minus this, into this palette, but I thought that looked just like cute with these. So I would love it if I could touch every shade in this. Totally doable. It's only 5 pans of eyeshadow, but these cool toned shades are not quite my jam. Then this is currently going in my Pan Those eyeshadows. This is the Minka palette. I'll have a picture of like when it rolled into that project so I don't spoil anything. But it's just a beautiful, I'm going to open it for myself. It's a super neutral toned palette. Actually, a couple of the shades in here I could have used in this look today. The shades Linda and Selena, they're like those super multi-chromes where they like go from like a green to a purple. This is a super beautiful palette, and this time of year I am wanting to I go in waves of my neutral phases. Right now, I am very deep into a neutral phase. This is me trying to pull myself out of it, but I'm really loving neutrals right now. I've been really enjoying that palette. Not used it as much as I should, but I've really been enjoying using it. Something that I pulled out because I think that this would be pretty on days if I'm really not wanting to wear like clown makeup, for lack of a better term, and I want something that's going to just look wet and like glossy and beautiful on the lids. I want to reach into my Plain Jane palette. This was something I wanted to focus in on April and did not do that. But this is what Plain Jane is looking like. We have some of these really beautiful like multi-chrome, like darker based multi-chromes over here, along with this guy. But everything else in the most part of this palette is very ethereal and light and can be really sheer and just beautiful. And I really want to get use out of this and just enjoy like some of these shades here. These, oh my goodness, this and the darker based multi-chromes. I'm experimenting more with shades I kind of was like, I don't know. Another one of my oldie but goodie palettes I've been really wanting to gravitate towards is the Feral palette. Now, I busted some shades. It fell off my desk when I was filming my palette tour. I was very gutted and broke the two beautiful shimmers in it. But this is definitely a very summery palette in my opinion. We have just like these beautiful grassy tones. We have these beautiful like bright colorful tones. I had some shimmers that were super gorgeous and are no longer for the most part with us. This is a beautiful shade, but all of these I feel like would pair well with some of the other palettes that we pulled out. Then one of my newest additions to my collection is this absolute gorgeous palette here. This Natasha Denona Yucca palette is so beautiful. I bought it immediately when it launched at Ulta. I bought it with a bunch of points. I'm so happy about this. This shade here is one of those shades I'm absolutely in love with. No one has been able to pull it off ever. This is the best performing neon-y kind of chartreusey color like that I've ever used, and I've used like 3 or 4 of them. It's by far the best one I've ever used. I've used a couple shades in this palette already. Really majority this bottom row. Just I've reached into it a couple times. This is literally my dream of a color story. Like this is truly a dream of a color story. I was eyeballing the Killer Purr by Menagerie for a long time, and now I'm like, okay, well I'm sated. I don't need to buy any like jungle tone, desert toned palette because this is literally perfection to me. That kind of spurred me to want to put not one but 2 different singles palettes together. I'm going to talk about this guy first. This is my it's like a strawberry lemonade palette in my opinion. I have one like little green which still like fits a strawberry lemonade vibe in my opinion. The top like lemons have a little green sometimes. But this is kind of like a lemon lime, strawberry, raspberry, limeade, lemonade kind of vibe, and I'm really excited to reach for this. So in my singles spreadsheet, I want to focus in on my shades in my first, second, and third columns. Those are like my pinky reds, oranges, and yellows. I want to focus on those for the month of July. I think I can get a lot of usage in them, so this is kind of like me being okay using those kinds of shades. Then same kind of wavelength, I ended up putting this together, and this is kind of like roughly inspired by the Yucca palette, but also inspired by like minty shades. So it's inspired by this, but there's this guy. You can tell, like distant cousin, to the Yucca palette. But I wanted to pull something that had a little bit more of these like brighter oranges, so I could get use out of my orange section of my singles palette. And I thought it would complement the greens, like the green that I'm trying to pan in another project. So I have this guy here, which is Fluoresce by Cleona, which is like, I'm wearing it on my inner corner with a bunch of other things. It just lends itself so well to so many things. So I thought just like this arrangement or kind of just similar arrangements of single shades in those kind of 2 colors. When we're in these warm, hot summer, I want like, fruity time of year, I want to reach for my fruity kind of shades, my oranges, my lemons, my berries. I want to reach for all those kinds of things. So that's kind of the general theme of this. I kind of wanted to use those shades that are a little bit more vibrant and fun. But yeah, let me know if there is anything that you are no pan left behinding. I want to know how you are doing in your projects. Let me know how you are doing multitasking and using your products in different ways. If you are using them in different ways, I would just love to know how what are your favorite color combinations for this time of year? Are you very much like strawberry lemonade kind of girl? Are you more of like what the Yucca palette is giving, which is like those deserty, foresty kind of vibes, which is so pretty. Like I'm definitely in both, team both. The look goes with the greens, but it goes with like the crazy colors, like the wild and bright kind of colors, but there is that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are staying healthy, sane, and safe. I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, bye!